Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Royal Ramble podcast. I am your host, Zach Stevens, and we are here to review the episode of SmackDown Live from July 25th, 2017, out of Richmond, Virginia. As always, guys, you can follow us on Twitter at Ramble_cast. Again, that is Ramble_cast. And you can always subscribe to our YouTube page where you're going to find the highest quality versions of our episodes. It also has our entire backlog of episodes as well. So if you missed our Battleground review or our Raw review from last night, all of that stuff is over there, so please subscribe to our YouTube page, hit that like button, and definitely leave us a comment below. It really helps out a lot. We are also on Podbean. If you want to listen to the show on the go, you can download that Podbean app, search for us over there, or go to our URL, which is royalrambleradio.podbean.com. Now that is all out of the way, guys, we have an episode of SmackDown Live to discuss. Now, obviously, WWE coming off of one of the worst pay-per-views I've ever seen in Battleground. How are they going to make it up to us with a SmackDown Live that is more compelling than that pay-per-view? Are they going to be able to give us something that we're actually going to enjoy? Or are they going to flounder again and give us another shitty show? Well, guys, now that I have watched the show, I can tell you this. That was an incredible episode of SmackDown Live. Holy shit, man. This was a great episode. Number one thing, they absolutely made up for the shitty massacre that was Battleground. Battleground was easily one of the worst pay-per-views I've ever seen. The Punjabi prison match was horrible. Kevin Owens and AJ Styles was a complete clusterfuck. It just was not a good match. A ton of matches on that card outside of the tag match were fucking horrible. So, obviously, SmackDown Live had some work to do. They had to get back in the good graces of us as fans, and I think they accomplished that tonight. Now, there are a few crazy decisions that they made during this episode that we're definitely going to have to talk about, but overall, man, this episode was simply amazing and easily one of the best SmackDown Live episodes that I have seen in recent memory. So, there are a few things that I did want to talk about before we get into the review. Number one, I wanted to discuss this. It's kind of a hot topic right now, and I think this show actually kind of brought out that even more. And the fact is that Jinder Mahal as champion isn't working for me, guys. Look, I tried to give him a chance. His first promo that he cut was really good. He brought some intensity, brought some passion, and it really showed that, hey, SmackDown Live is the land of opportunity if guys like Jinder Mahal can become WWE champion. However, ever since that first promo he did when he got the title, every single one that he has cut since then has been so weak, and he's only faced one guy the entire time, that being Randy Orton. He needs to be expanded beyond that, and after tonight's show, man, I just don't think that he has what it takes. The title is cold as ice right now. Nobody cares about the WWE Championship, and that is a huge problem, and I think a lot of that has to do with Jinder being the one behind it. Right now, the USA title has more heat attached to it than the main belt, the most prestigious title in all of wrestling, in the WWE Championship belt. So the fact that it is completely cold right now does not help. And the bottom line here, guys, is that I've tried to give Jinder a chance, and it's just not working for me, man. He comes out there, cuts the same promo every single week, always uses the Singh brothers to, win the championship. And on top of that, GMs like Daniel Bryan and Shane don't even mention that he cheats to win all these matches. So it's just not working for me. And the way that the way that he came out tonight just really kind of epitomized why I don't like Jinder as champion, because he cuts a shitty promo, and well, we'll get to it. I don't want to spoil anything yet, but we'll get to that, and I'll talk more about it. So, just my thoughts in general right now is that Jinder Mahal just is not working for me as a champion. Besides Jinder, though, there are still a bunch of directionless characters on this show. Now, there are some that do have directions, but they keep going in the same direction nonstop. Obviously, AJ and KO. You got guys like Randy and Jinder going the same route all the time. New Day and Usos going in the same direction all the time, constantly facing each other. And there are plenty of guys that have no feuds at all. So it's absolutely time to get them going and get some new, fresh feuds going on at SmackDown Live. So anyway, man, let's get into this review. No questions tonight because, honestly, after Battleground, what kind of questions are you going to have other than, are they going to be able to put out a good show? And like I said at the top of the show, this was one of my favorites of all time. So let's go ahead and get into the review, guys, and we'll start from there. So the show kicks off with Kevin Owens coming out and being announced as the new U.S. champion. Apparently, there was a rumor going around that the finish to the AJ Kevin Owens match on Battleground did not go as planned. Some people were saying basically that AJ was actually planned to win that match, but for whatever reason, he did not. We haven't really gotten any real answers to that as of now. It's just kind of a random rumor, but keep that rumor in mind as this show plays out. So Kevin Owens comes out. He's in a full-blown suit, really classing up the title. Love that he does that. He comes out and he says, "This just feels right, doesn't it?" Obviously referring to becoming the U.S. champion yet again. He says he proved to everyone at Battleground that if you're a good person, good things will happen, saying he took back his title from that thief, AJ Styles. We get a very loud AJ Styles chant erupting here in Richmond. KO then goes on to say that he is reinstating the Kevin Owens U.S. Open Challenge, which I'm thinking, hell yes, I love the U.S. Open Challenge. Let's get that thing back going, and let's start it tonight. That would be awesome. But instead, he says that this isn't happening until next week, because he would never defend his title in front of a bunch of hicks in Richmond, Virginia. Obviously, the crowd boos at this massively. Then, AJ Styles' music hits. KO basically gets on the mic and he says that he better be out here to congratulate him and admit that he is the better man. But AJ goes on to say that he's here to get his rematch. Kevin says that he just said that he isn't defending his title in Richmond in front of a bunch of hicks. Then, all of a sudden, I get complete chills because we hear, "Break the walls down!" Chris Jericho is fucking here. Holy shit. I did not expect this at all, man. This is absolutely one way to make us forget all about how shitty Battleground was. No one was predicting Jericho to come back tonight. I had no idea this was happening, and I honestly cannot believe that he came back tonight. Completely awesome surprise. I was stunned. You could tell Kevin Owens was stunned in the ring. AJ as well. Both of them just had their jaws dropped, looking completely shocked in the middle of the ring. Jericho comes out, man, and he's got the rock star haircut going on, man. You can tell he hasn't had a haircut in a while. He's been on tour, obviously, with his band Fozzy. I did look up their tour dates, and it looks like he is actually off of the tour for a while now. He has a nice long break here, so this could potentially be another run for Jericho before he goes back on tour. We will have to see, but as it looks right now, man, this might not have been a one-off thing. He might be back for a little while. Anyway, KO starts freaking out, and Jericho tells him to quiet multiple times. Jericho says that this isn't Montreal, this is America, man. He says the last time he was on SmackDown Live, KO sent him away on a stretcher, but he's been recovering, doing CrossFit and drinking beers. He doesn't mention his Fozzy tour at all, but that's obviously where he has been. Jericho goes on to say that he's back for his U.S. title, and he wants his rematch as well. AJ then interrupts. He tells him that a lot of things have changed since he's been gone, and the person in front of the line for the U.S. title is AJ Styles. Jericho goes on to ask him if AJ is trying to cut him in line and says, "You know what happens to people who try to cut me in line, AJ Styles? You know what happens?" Obviously teasing the list here. KO then just gets out of the ring and he starts leaving. He doesn't say anything. He just rolls out of the ring and starts walking away to the ramp. And I'm thinking, what's this all about? Jericho proceeds to put AJ on the list, then turns around and calls out Kevin Owens for leaving. Then, as Kevin Owens is about to go back to the locker room, Shane O'Mac's music hits. He comes out, he tells KO to hang around for a bit because he has a message regarding the U.S. title. He goes on to say that both AJ and Jericho have a right at a rematch, and he says that they'll both get their opportunity together. Shane sets up the match, but he says this isn't happening at WrestleMania. Hell, it isn't even happening at SummerSlam. It's happening tonight. Holy shit. As soon as he made this announcement, man, I got chills again. Number one, you have a huge surprise return in Jericho. I did not see that coming at all. Nobody was predicting that before the show. I was reading Reddit, Twitter. No one mentioned Jericho. For him to show up in a random-ass city like Richmond, Virginia, just kind of shows that WWE might have made a quick call to Jericho saying, hey, man, we fucked up Battleground. Can you come save us tonight? Because that's kind of what this felt like. And, man, he did save them because the main event that they put on tonight is fucking legendary. So, anyway, I really loved how they set this opener up, too. You know, they teased that we weren't getting any resolution to the U.S. title tonight. Then they teased a huge match, like a triple threat for the title. You know, as soon as they mentioned the triple threat, I was like, okay, well, there's our match at SummerSlam. That's obviously what's going to happen. But no, it's not happening at SummerSlam. Shane O'Mac gives it to us tonight. Fucking brilliant segment. I loved everything about this. And at this point, I'm thinking, man, if AJ wins, it might actually lend some truth to the rumor that AJ was supposed to win at Battleground. So we will have to see what happens, but I think it's very interesting that they're making this match tonight, especially given those rumors that we were hearing. So overall, simply amazing segment to kick off this show. Love the Jericho return, and that match that they set up, this triple threat for our main event, ends up being so fucking good, guys. It is such a good match. If you have not seen this, you have got to go watch this. These guys put on a show. They stole the entire weekend of wrestling right here. Anyway, we go into the next segment, and WWE then tries to ruin all of the momentum from the opening segment by making a Battleground rematch of one of the worst matches on the card. Nobody was asking to see this one again. And of course, it's Baron Corbin versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, you know, Corbin winning with that low, well, he didn't win, but he hit the low blow on Nakamura, and Nakamura won. But, you know, this is not necessarily something that I want to see again. These guys simply just did not mesh well in the ring on Sunday. I mean, that's even noticeable by the most casual of wrestling fans. You could tell that Corbin and Nakamura just did not mesh well together. So I'm hoping that this is the blow-off match, and then we never have to see these guys touch each other again. Anyway, they both come out, and this match starts. Shinsuke starts off the match hot with a ton of knee strikes. He's basically just going off on Corbin, hitting him with multiple knees. He sets him up on the apron at one point and jumping down knee first into Corbin's head. Nakamura then revs up for another kick from the outside, but Corbin gets down and hits a huge clothesline onto Nakamura. This crowd is starting to really respond to Shinsuke here. This match ends up being a lot better than their Battleground match. I have no idea why we got that match that we did on Sunday and not this one, because this match was so much better and looked so much more clean than their match on Sunday did. Anyway, Nakamura sets up Corbin on the ropes. He hits the running knee. Then he heads to the second rope, and he hits a huge knee to the jaw of Corbin for a near fall. This is like a flying Kinshasa, essentially. Nakamura then revs up for the Kinshasa, but he ends up missing. Corbin catches him into a backbreaker, goes for a pin, 1, 2, Shinsuke kicks out. Corbin then has some knee strikes of his own, very similar to the ones that Nakamura does, where he'll have someone laying down and he just jumps on them with his knee. It was very similar to that. Baron then hits the deep six for a very close near fall. He then goes for the end of days, but Nakamura counters it, lands on his feet, then hits a huge knee to Corbin. He then sets up for the Kinshasa, hits it, 1, 2, 3, Nakamura wins. My thoughts, like I said, man, this was such a better match than their Battleground match. Holy shit. I seriously don't know why this wasn't the match that we got on the pay-per-view. It just didn't make sense to me. I'm not sure what happened necessarily on Sunday. I don't know if those guys were just lost or what, but this match, you could tell. Shinsuke brought some intensity, so did Corbin. They weren't pulling their punches. They were doing complete strong style with each other, and it just shows how much better it was than their Battleground match. So, you know, I come away from this being completely confused. This match was faster, didn't have all those boring-ass rest holds that they did on Battleground. They got straight to the point, and they got straight to beating the fuck out of each other with strikes and doing their finishers. So, I have no clue what was going on at Battleground. That was easily the worst match on the card, and this match right here was a completely different story. So, very strange, but in the end, I'm glad these guys were able to redeem themselves a bit here on this episode of SmackDown Live. Anyway, the next thing we get is a tease for a segment for Jinder where he will demand a new opponent. And all I'm thinking is, Jesus fucking Christ, it's about time, dude. I don't understand why the rest of the roster hasn't stepped in and said, hey, why is Randy Orton getting all these rematches? He's lost 3 times in a row. It's time for someone else to get a shot. So I'm glad that we're finally going to get a new opponent for Jinder because he absolutely needs it, man. Like I said at the top of the show, everyone is headed in one direction, and it's always the same direction. They've got to find a way to get a new opponent for Jinder and hopefully redeem him as your champion, because as it stands right now, he is looking like one of the weakest champions of all time. Anyway, we go on and we have a Naomi interview backstage. She's talking about Natalya getting her shot at her title at SummerSlam. She says Natty is tough as nails. Then she goes on to mention how Natalya didn't shake her hand on Sunday after the match. Then Natalya obviously hears this and she enters the interview segment. She says that Naomi has tarnished the title, saying she turned the belt into a kid's toy. Obviously referring to how she made it all glowy and, put the LED lights on it, which I absolutely love. I think that belt looks fucking cool like that, but anyway, Natty goes on to say that at SummerSlam, she will take the title and restore honor to the women's title. Not sure if that was a Hardy reference here, but some people in the crowd did start doing a delete chant, so I'm glad that they were able to pick up on that. Anyway, Naomi says that she respects tradition. She didn't tarnish the title, she earned it, and added a little piece of herself to it as well. She says that she will be blinded by the glow, and then Natty leaves and Carmella enters, knocking on her briefcase. She's wearing this Free James Ellsworth shirt, which I thought was hilarious. Carmella just comes in, and she basically comes to remind her that her and her Money in the Bank contract are looking to the future. And that was the end of the segment. I just wanted to point this out, though, man. They don't ever call the briefcase a briefcase anymore. This is obviously one of those initiatives by Vince McMahon, saying that, there's certain words that he doesn't want them to use. And obviously briefcase is one of them, because now instead of Carmella saying me and my briefcase are here, she always says my contract. And the briefcase isn't a contract. A contract is a piece of paper. The briefcase is a fucking briefcase. So, the contract is inside of the briefcase. So, very weird, and you can tell this is one of those weird Vince McMahon initiatives to ban certain words like championship or whatever else they do. I can't think of any other ones at this point, but he does this all the time. Justin Roberts just released a book where he goes into detail about this, including one of his last nights. He basically is told by Vince McMahon to not emphasize his words when he's announcing people to the ring, and then he gets fired the next day. So you can tell that this is something that they definitely put emphasis on, and it's very weird. Just call it a briefcase. Is it really that big of a deal, Vince? It's really not. Anyway, we head into match number 2. Charlotte and Becky versus Tamina and Lana, a.k.a. Beauty and the Beast, which is the moniker that I'm giving them. At first, when they first were bringing people out and they were doing their intros, I kind of thought we were getting Charlotte versus Becky again. And I was thinking, damn, this SmackDown Live is bringing out the big guns. They are not fucking around. They want to make us forget all about Battleground. But no, this ended up being a tag match. Still okay, but I will say I was a little let down because I thought we were getting Charlotte-Becky again, which was an amazing match last Tuesday. Anyway, this match starts. Lana starts against Becky. Becky immediately almost gets the disarmor on her, but Lana is able to race to the corner and tags in Tamina. These two go at it for a bit, Becky constantly teasing the disarmor. Tamina finally weakens Becky and then lets Lana tag in and get some offense for herself. Lana hits a suplex for a 2 count, then she has some knee strikes to Becky's back. We then start getting a "you can't wrestle" chant for Lana, and I'm just going to say this, fuck off, Richmond. Don't do that. That's disrespectful, man. Look, I know she's struggling in the ring, but don't do "you can't wrestle," man. That's just as bad as the "what" chants. Come on, guys. When people say "you can't wrestle," well, guess what, Richmond? You can't either, so shut the fuck up. Anyway, Becky eventually gets the hot tag to Charlotte, who explodes on Lana and Tamina. Charlotte goes off with a long series of chops here. She hits a knee, goes for a pin, but Tamina kicks out. Lana then tags in. She immediately eats a big boot from Charlotte. She goes for the pin. 1, 2, 3. Charlotte and Becky win. At the end of this match, Tamina is obviously pissed off at Lana for tagging herself in and going out there and losing. She just has this disgusted look on her face after this loss. She's slamming her hands on the apron, yelling at Lana, and then eventually says, "Come on, let's go." So, obviously, nothing really of note here within the match itself, but the main point of this match was to tease Tamina turning on Lana. This is what I'm expecting, guys. I'm expecting Tamina to finally snap because Lana is going to lose them matches constantly. Tamina is going to turn on Lana, completely destroy her, and then they're hopefully going to set up a babyface run for Lana where she is this underdog going against, a big badass Samoan brute like Tamina. However, I'm going to say this though. If she's getting "you can't wrestle" chants, I don't think that a babyface run for her is going to work. Either way, I still stand by what I said. Fuck that chant and fuck Richmond for doing it. But at the same time, man, I worry that if they try to do a babyface run for Lana, that it's just not going to work and she's going to fall flat on her face. So hopefully I'm wrong on that, but it does look like that is where they are headed. Next up, we get an in-ring segment, and it's going to be Jinder's segment where he comes to demand a new opponent. Thank fucking God, it's only been 3 months where we've been subjected to nothing but Jinder versus Orton every single pay-per-view, so I am glad that we are getting a new opponent for Jinder. We need to see something new and fresh. He comes out and he says that he crushed Randy Orton on Sunday. Jinder says that just like all the people in the audience, Randy Orton underestimated him. He says that he will stay WWE champion for as long as he desires. He then demands to know who he will face at SummerSlam. He then goes on to cut his Punjabi promo, and then all of a sudden, John Cena's music hits, interrupting Jinder's promo. This crowd is hot for Cena. You can hear the whole mix of cheers and boos the entire time he's out there. Jinder interrupts Cena from talking before he can say anything on the mic, though, and he says he knows exactly what Cena is going to say. But Cena goes on to tell him to shut his mouth. Cena goes on to say that he came out here to congratulate Jinder for his win. He says he respects the fact that Jinder is in the best shape of his life, okay, with a little help of maybe some steroids, I would say, but okay, Cena. Anyway, he says that he respects the fact that Jinder does everything he can to keep the title. But he also says this is a heads up as well. He goes on to introduce himself to Jinder, doing a lot of comedy bits along the way in this promo, but essentially he says that at SummerSlam, Jinder is facing Super Cena. He basically says that this means that Cena is going to walk out of SummerSlam as a 17th time world champion, I should say. He tells them to hit his music, says you can't see me, and he leaves. But as Cena is leaving, we hear Daniel Bryan's music. Daniel comes out and he says that he wants to congratulate them both for winning at Battleground, and he says that he understands that Cena is on a quest to make history, but he doesn't make the matches. Daniel Bryan and Shane do. He says that Cena will have to earn his opportunity against a man who won earlier tonight. Now wait for it. Who's it going to be? Who else won tonight? Well, Shinsuke Nakamura. Holy shit. Dream match, guys. Dream match alert right here. So my thoughts, before we get into that, I want to talk about the segment that we just went over, because it did have some issues for me. Number one, like I said, Jinder is fucking awful on the mic. Look, I used to think it was the tone of his voice, and to a certain degree, I still think it is. But at the same time, I think that he is just bad at cutting promos. I don't think this dude should be the face of the company right now. He simply cannot just deliver a compelling promo anymore. I'm sorry. I know he doesn't bring intensity to his promos. I've talked about that multiple times on this show. But the fact still remains that his promos in general, whether they have intensity or passion at all, they're all awful. I don't get it, man. I don't understand why this guy is WWE champion. I know they're trying to compel to India and the 1.3 billion people that he represents or whatever, but the problem is, here in America, no one gives a shit. He's just not a good champion right now, guys. That is simply the case. And his in-ring ability isn't great either. So what is the upside to having Jinder as champion other than compelling to these international markets? It just does not make sense. Secondly, Cena's promo was all over the place. Look, I praised Cena last week for his promo, building up that flag match between him and Rusev. I thought that was a great promo out of Cena. But this one, it was all over the place, man. He was doing bits of comedy mixed with bits of seriousness, and it just did not work for me, man. It wasn't a horrible promo or anything. Cena doesn't give bad promos. It just wasn't the Cena promo that I'm looking for in these days, basically. I'd wish Cena would have come out and basically said, Jinder, you're disgracing the title with the way you win. You always have the Singh brothers interfere. You're not elevating this title at all, and I'm here and I'm back to restore that title to honor. Now, he did not cut that type of promo, which is something that I wish he would have done. But having said that, the ending to this was fucking amazing. I honestly cannot believe that they are going to do Cena versus Shinsuke next week on SmackDown Live. I honestly cannot believe it. That is a WrestleMania caliber match, and honestly, one of my predictions was that Cena might be facing Shinsuke at SummerSlam. So instead, they're making this a number one contenders match for the WWE Championship on SmackDown Live. There are a lot of mixed feelings about this. I know people are pretty pissed off that this isn't going to be on a pay-per-view. But you can tell, man, that the emphasis right now for WWE is not on pay-per-views. Just look at Battleground and how fucking horrible that shit was. And look at what we're getting on Raw and SmackDown each week. The TV episodes that we get are much more compelling and much more entertaining than any of their pay-per-views are. So there's obviously this emphasis on getting ratings back and getting compelling matches and interesting matches on TV to pull an audience into their pay-per-views. So no matter what you feel about this, man, the one thing that I feel is kind of being cynical is that I don't think WWE was ever going to give us Cena versus Shinsuke at a major pay-per-view. I just don't think it would ever work. Look, Cena is basically a part-timer. Who knows when he's going to be here and when he's not? And who knows how long Shinsuke is going to be here? Are their schedules ever going to align for some big match on a pay-per-view? Who knows, right? And on top of that, you have to put faith into WWE Creative to actually give us that match, which is something that I simply just do not have faith in. I do not think that WWE was ever going to give us this match. I still question whether they're ever going to give us Shinsuke versus AJ, but I do think that they will eventually. That is one that they have to do, and if they do not, then that is the biggest blunder of all history in the WWE. But regardless, man, whatever you feel about this, this is what sparks my interest. Look, I'm sure Cena is probably going to win this match next Tuesday. That's going to give Shinsuke his first loss on the main roster. But what if he doesn't lose? Just think about that for a second. What if Shinsuke beats Cena on Tuesday? What if they save Cena's 17th championship for WrestleMania? What if they let Shinsuke get a chance at the WWE Championship now? Those are some big matches for Shinsuke, man. He has not really had any big matches since he came up to the main roster. And if they let him win against Cena next week, it will set the world on fire. I know a lot of people are complaining that they're doing this match on TV, but if Shinsuke wins, all those people complaining aren't going to be complaining anymore. They're going to be happy as shit that Shinsuke is getting a title match. And not only that, he's undefeated at that point, and he beat Cena. So that will absolutely light the world of wrestling on fire. Look, if he loses, though, people are going to be super pissed that they fed Nakamura to Cena like that on a random SmackDown. I do think Cena is going to win because the way they're setting this up is Cena being the all-American guy going after the foreigner who has the title. It's your typical wrestling storyline. But the fact still remains, man, we are actually going to get that match. It is actually going to happen. And not only that, it's happening next week. So I think that's pretty awesome. I understand why people are pissed. They want to see that match on a pay-per-view because of how big it is. But at the same time, guys, I'm selfish, man. I want to see that match. And the fact that we're getting it next week makes me happy as a wrestling fan. So obviously, long-term, it hurts. But in the short term, man, I'm pretty stoked about it. I'm excited, and I can't wait to see it. The other little thing, the last thing I want to talk about this, is I loved how Daniel Bryan came out here, and instead of letting Cena just call his shots like he used to, he comes out and says that he has to earn his opportunity. And that fits right in with the idea that SmackDown Live is the land of opportunity. So I thought that was good. That was finally some continuity out of this writing staff to, make it so that Cena doesn't just come out here after being gone for 6 months and just do whatever he wants. He still has to earn his shots, even though he is John Cena. So in the end, guys, it's fucking crazy. I honestly can't believe that we're getting this, and I thought this was an awesome ending to a segment that I kind of felt was kind of floundering and going nowhere fast. So it could not have surprised me more, and it could not have ended up any better. Next up, we go backstage. It's KO and Shane. KO says the only reason that this triple threat match is happening tonight is because Shane hates him. He says that what's even worse is that he doesn't have to get pinned to lose his title, saying that that isn't fair. Shane says that Jericho and AJ have a rematch owed to them, and that is what's fair. Shane basically goes on to say that he doesn't care about the U.S. title as long as it is defended here on SmackDown Live. He wants to give the audience a good show, and he puts over the match that they are having tonight, basically. KO goes on to say he doesn't give a damn about the fans, and if he wasn't commissioner, he wouldn't give a damn about Shane either. So that was the end of this segment, and they are definitely teasing KO versus Shane here. I know that anytime Shane has a segment with someone where they don't get along, people immediately think Shane is going to wrestle them. But I think this actually was a clear indication that these guys might actually have a match. Shane is a big name. He's probably going to have a match on some of the big pay-per-views like SummerSlam. And the way this triple threat match ends, this definitely could lead to a Shane versus KO match at SummerSlam. And I think that might be where they go. We will have to see, but this was obviously a tease at something for the future. Next up, we have Aiden English in the ring. He's doing his singing gimmick, getting booed as always. Like I said before, man, Aiden English is essentially SmackDown Live's version of Elias Sampson. It's the same gimmick, just a different type of singing. Then Maria and Mike's music hits. They come out. Then Sami Zayn. Then Ty Dillinger. We are going to get a tag match between Sami and Ty versus Mike and Aiden English. So I think that is a cool pairing. Really cool to see Ty and Sami together. Definitely interested to see how this match goes, even though it actually really didn't amount to anything. Essentially, it's a quick match. We come back from break. Mike is taking it to Sami, throws him into the post, and hits him with the clothesline. We start getting a Let's Go Sami chant as he battles off Aiden English. He tags in Ty Dillinger. Ty hits English with a fallaway slam. He then takes it to Mike, throwing him into the corner for the 10 punches. Sami then gets the tag. All of a sudden just hits the Helluva Kick out of nowhere to Mike Kanellis, goes for the pin, and they win. Overall, this is a pretty nothing match. This was probably I would say this was a time filler for SmackDown Live. This was probably the slow point in the show. However, I do like the tag team of Dillinger and Sami Zayn. They didn't really have much tag team offense in this, but I still think it was cool to see these two guys who are so good getting paired together. Overall, this was a quick, meaningless match. I don't think it has any bearing on the future of the overall picture for SummerSlam, unless they're teasing some sort of tag team with Sami and Ty here. It could have been a test run of sorts, who knows, but obviously the tag team on SmackDown Live is pretty weak at this point, so they do need some new teams. So maybe this could be our Cesaro-Sheamus sort of pairing, Ty Dillinger and Sami Zayn. That's a good way to get Ty Dillinger involved in something, as well as Sami Zayn, who's kind of just been floating around in that mid-card level, having to face guys like Mike Kanellis. So maybe they'll get a tag team going. Who knows? We will see. Next up, the New Day come out. Well, they don't really come out, but as Big E is doing his "Aw, Richmond," the whole intro that he always does, you can hear him get beat down on the mic as he's doing this, and the Usos are there taking it to the New Day. They then come out from backstage. Usos throw Xavier face first into the ramp multiple times. Then they throw Kofi into the side of the LED board. I do want to say this. I love how they're using the LED board more often now. A lot of the time when they had this new whole set, they didn't even touch those things, and now it seems like every week someone is doing an LED board spot, so I'm glad they're finally using it. Anyway, Big E finally recovers from backstage. He runs out and tries to help, but he eats a super kick from Jimmy and gets laid out completely. All 3 men of the New Day are sprawled out on top of the ramp as the Usos hover over their limp bodies. Nothing really of note here, man. It's just obviously furthering their feud between the Usos and the New Day, which we all knew was going to happen. The Usos still have a rematch to get. I'm sure that's going to happen at SummerSlam, so we will see what happens. Renee then interviews Shinsuke backstage. She's asking him about the upcoming dream match with Cena that just got announced, and he goes on to say that next week, John Cena, you can't see me, which means I'll see Jinder at SummerSlam. Really short promo from Nakamura, but overall it was decent. I don't think he needs to be cutting, 15-minute long promos or anything. Just quick, short things, and that's all that he needs. Like I said, though, I honestly don't think he's going to beat Cena, unfortunately, but I'm still extremely excited for that match. Most of the time when WWE says, oh, this is a dream match in the making, most of the time it's not a dream match. They usually just, they throw a lot of hyperbole out there when they talk about dream matches. However, this time, Cena and Nakamura, that actually is a dream match. So this is the one time where they can say dream match, and it is actually true. All right, guys, then we head into our main event, and that is going to be the triple threat for the U.S. title. Chris Jericho, AJ Styles, and the champion, Kevin Owens. Let's fucking go. So, the match starts. Jericho and AJ take it straight to Kevin Owens. They're teaming up against him. Jericho then tries to roll up AJ, but it doesn't work. Both of these guys have a series of roll-ups on each other until KO comes in and knocks out AJ with a big right hand. Then, KO and Jericho have a face-off for the first time in 3 months. Jericho immediately goes for the walls on KO, but he can't get it cinched in. He then hits a dropkick onto KO from the top rope for a near fall. AJ then recovers, gets back in, and starts beating down Jericho in the corner. He then knocks Jericho to the outside, and then AJ and KO go at it for a little while. KO hits the senton for a 2 count. AJ and KO trade shots until KO whips AJ into the big elbow. AJ then locks the leg for the calf crusher. KO is about to tap, but then Jericho hits the lion salt to break it up. This is an amazing spot here. I love how great Jericho, man. How great he is, man. He's just able to basically come in off the streets, come into a main event, and put on a show without missing a beat. The dude is a fucking legend, and we should all respect the hell out of Chris Jericho for simply how great he is. And honestly, how great this last run out of him has been. This is easily the best Jericho we have ever seen. And the fact that he's able to come off of a tour just on some random night in some random city like Richmond, Virginia, come out here and put on this match, just goes to show how incredible this dude is. So props to Jericho, man. He is simply one of the greatest of all time. We come back from commercial. AJ and KO are going at it again. Jericho comes in and eats a few chops until he hits the backdrop onto AJ. Jericho hits some huge chops to AJ now. He then takes AJ to the top turnbuckle, but KO comes in for the electric chair drop onto Jericho. Jericho is able to reverse that into the walls of Jericho, but KO is able to slip out. Jericho is in the middle of the mat, sprawled out. AJ's on the apron, sets up for the 450 splash. He hits it, goes for the pin, but KO comes in and takes him out before he can get the cover. KO tries to steal the pin after the ensuing 450, but Jericho amazingly kicks out. Great match so far. So many awesome near fall moments, so many big spots and big moves. This thing is fucking great. AJ then tries to get the Styles Clash onto Jericho, but Jericho reverses it into the walls. He then gets the walls of Jericho onto KO. He has it completely locked in, but AJ comes in to interrupt. But this time, Jericho hits the code breaker out of nowhere onto AJ as he's running into the ring. Jericho goes for the pin. 1, 2, AJ kicks out. Holy shit, what a fucking match. Anyway, KO then hits the cannonballs to both men. They have this amazing sequence, easily my favorite part of this match, where AJ hits a forearm to KO. Jericho then hits an enziguri. KO then hits a super kick onto Jericho. Then AJ hits a Pele kick. This sequence was so fucking good. After this sequence, all 3 men are just laying on the mat, completely dead, and this crowd is going crazy. We get "This is awesome" chants. I seriously wanted to say fight forever. I know that chant is a little bit weak these days, but seriously, man, this was such a great match. Anyway, KO then hits the powerbomb to Jericho for a very close near fall. I honestly thought for sure that was going to be the ending here. KO then heads to the top turnbuckle. He hits a frog splash to Jericho. He goes for the pin. AJ runs into the ring, pulls Kevin Owens off, throws him to the outside. AJ hops onto Jericho. 1, 2, 3. AJ steals the pin, and AJ Styles is your new United States Champion. Holy shit, guys. What a fucking main event. These guys completely stole the show. Absolutely incredible. KO obviously is shocked at the loss. He cannot believe it. He starts tearing apart the announcer desk in anger. AJ, meanwhile, is just leaving the ring with the title in his hand, celebrating on top of the ramp. KO is just ripping everything to shreds. He then grabs a microphone. He tells everyone to shut up. He screams that this is not fair. He says it isn't fair that Jericho's back. He says it isn't fair that Shane made this match. And he says that it isn't fair that AJ stole his victory. KO then says he wants his rematch next week. He then says whether we like it or not, he's taking his championship back. And we go off the air with AJ Styles kissing his newly gotten belt. God damn, guys, what a fucking main event. That was simply incredible. So many amazing spots, so many amazing sequences between all three of these guys. Like I said earlier, man, the fact that Jericho basically came in off the streets and put out this type of performance just completely blows my mind, man. What a fucking professional this dude is. He is simply one of the best of all time, and this just goes to show how great Chris Jericho is. AJ getting this win is also insane, and it does lend truth to the rumor, after all, that he was supposed to win on Battleground. The way he won was also amazing. I love how he stole the win from KO. That was just the icing on the cake, especially because KO teased that same spot earlier in the match. So that was some really good in-ring storytelling right there. That is something that a lot of the times in WWE matches do not happen, but when you put three great guys in the ring like Jericho, KO, and AJ, that's the type of excellence that you get. So simply just fucking brilliant, man. These guys are so good, man. Anyway, KO also after this, I think he delivered one of his best promos of his career. Really, he was just seething after he lost his title, and honestly, you never see guys get that angry after losing the title, and they should, man. If someone steals your title like that, you should be on the verge of tears because you're so angry, and that's what Kevin Owens displayed here. You know, he really made the U.S. title seem like it was his child or his baby or something. He doesn't ever want to lose it, and he is so fucking mad that he just lost it to AJ in that fashion. And the promo that he cut afterwards, basically screaming at AJ that this isn't fair, really displaying some great emotion here. It was simply amazing, and it just shows how much emphasis is put into the U.S. title over something like the WWE title. No one gives a fuck about the WWE Championship right now, with it being on Jinder Mahal. All eyes are on this U.S. title race right now, so simply just an incredible main event. And this might be one of the best SmackDown Lives I have ever seen. I know that, WWE is trying to make up for how shitty of a pay-per-view Battleground was, so they really went balls to the wall with this show. So they are kind of using it as a crutch, essentially, to kind of get in the good graces of us again. But despite all that, man, it worked for me, man. This show simply had everything. It had a huge return in Jericho. It made a dream match for next week with CENA and Shinsuke, despite what you think about that. Then they topped this show off with an incredible main event with that triple threat. So overall, man, this was simply just an amazing show, and it was honestly jaw-dropping that WWE can go from putting out one of the worst pay-per-views in recent memory and then go on to give us a show like this on free television. It simply blows my mind, man, and it honestly leaves me wondering, where is the consistency? Why can't we have shows like this every single week, and why can't pay-per-views be even better? I think that is one thing that WWE Creative has to figure out. They got to figure out what made this show so great and try and replicate that in the future, because that is what we are missing when it comes to consistency in this show and in this product. But overall, guys, man, this SmackDown Live was truly amazing. You have to go back and watch this episode. There were literally only a few skippable segments, maybe like the tag match between Ty and Sammy, and honestly, the rest of it was pretty compelling throughout the entire show. So all 2 hours was used effectively. It wasn't like Raw where they have, a whole hour and a half where it's nothing but filler garbage. They used their 2 hours effectively in this show. And I'll say this also. This was the type of SmackDown Live that made me want to watch Talking Smack afterwards. This was one of the ones that would have led me to the network to go watch more, because I wanted more after this. I wanted more content, but no, there's no more Talking Smack because Vince McMahon, in all of his wisdom, thinks that it's not helping the product, so he canceled it. This would have been a perfect episode for a Talking Smack afterwards. But anyway, man, regardless, this was simply a great show tonight, and I am very surprised, and I was extremely happy walking away from this. Going into this show, my confidence for SmackDown Live, even though it is my favorite show, my confidence for it was at an all-time low after that Battleground, and the fact that they were able to surprise me like this really reinvigorates me and makes me excited for the future, especially next Tuesday. So, obviously, the main talking points coming out of tonight are going to be that incredible main event. Again, those guys went balls to the wall. They put on a fucking show, and props to all three of them, man, because that was simply incredible. The other talking points are obviously going to be next week's SmackDown matches. The KO versus AJ match for the rematch for the title. That is awesome that we're getting that. And then on top of that, we're going to get CENA versus Shinsuke for the number one contendership. That is a loaded fucking SmackDown, guys, and I cannot wait. That might end up being one of the highest rated shows that they ever do. So I simply cannot wait. That is a loaded fucking show. I understand, though. I know I've been reading a lot of Twitter, a lot of Reddit, and a lot of people are pissed that they aren't saving CENA Shinsuke for a bigger pay-per-view. But honestly, man, it really doesn't bother me too much. Like I said, I have zero confidence in WWE actually giving us that match on a pay-per-view. And if you look at the last couple of pay-per-views, man, they've been pretty shitty. So the fact that they're giving us this on TV really doesn't bother me too much. The thing that bothers me is that I think CENA is going to win, and I just don't want to see Nakamura lose to him. But either way, man, this is a dream match, and it will be a big-time draw. AJ getting the belt back also kind of leaves me wondering if they are just going to hotshot this title back and forth for a bit, or if AJ was truly supposed to win at Battleground. Really weird, to do the title change on a house show, then to do the title change on a pay-per-view, then do it again on SmackDown Live. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I have to say, I'm still completely interested and completely invested in this feud and this match. This isn't something that has gotten stale like Randy Orton and Jinder. This has been great throughout. So, minus that Battleground match, everything that Kevin Owens and AJ have done so far has been fantastic. And I can't wait for that match on SmackDown Live next week. So overall, guys, simply an incredible episode of SmackDown Live. Easily one of my favorites of all time. I cannot recommend it enough. I just struggle to understand exactly how they can book a show like Battleground, where it was one of the worst pay-per-views I've ever seen on a Sunday, then come out on Tuesday with one of the best shows that I've ever seen. Simply head-scratching stuff there, and I really hope that WWE is able to find some consistency with the product and really get us reinvigorated and re-energized and excited for what is to come. So guys, that was our review of SmackDown Live. I appreciate everyone for listening. Make sure you check us out over there on Twitter at Ramble_cast. Hit us up on YouTube. That is the premier place to listen to the show. We are also working on getting our show onto iTunes, so be tuned for an announcement in the coming weeks. Working on getting that squared away as soon as possible, so that will be on iTunes very shortly. And of course, we are on Podbean in the meantime. If you want to listen to us on the go, you can hit us up over there at royalrambleradio.podbean.com. And if you go to royalrambleradio.podbean.com/feed on your iPhone or whatever you use to listen to podcasts, that is our RSS feed, and that will immediately go to your podcast app, and you will get that every single week. So Thank you guys so much for listening to all the content this week. We will be back on Tuesday with our Monday Night Raw review. Obviously, a lot of questions going into that episode. And then, of course, we got the biggest SmackDown Live maybe in history next Tuesday. So cannot wait for that, guys. I'm finally excited to do some more shows here, especially because of what we're getting. So thank you so much for listening, guys. I am your host, Zach Stevens, and I am out. Peace.